All right, so this is our reproduction of what the sawmill here at Milk Creek was most likely like. Unfortunately, we don't know for sure because in the 1880s, the railroad came through here and quarried Mill Creek for limestone fill, and when they did that, they destroyed whatever was left of the original mill. But this is an accurate representation of what mills of the time really looked like and how they operated. The original mill was built by a man named Robert Campbell about 1790. He operated it until his death in 1808 when he left it to his heirs, his children. They continued to run the mill until 1819, which is when they sold it to a man named Michael Gaussman. Gaussman was one of the first big businessmen in this great area, and he operated the mill until about 1840, which is when they shut it down for the simple fact that there were no trees left. They had completely deforested this entire area. They were having to go several miles to get fresh trees. So they shut the mill down about 1840. About 1845, the milling operation moved down to Sheboygan, along the Sheboygan River, which is a nice big wide fast-flowing river where you can build several sawmills, and there's still plenty of trees. So how this works, you folks saw my pond out there. Think of that as the battery, right? It's stored energy. You saw the sluiceway, which connects the pond to the mill. Think of that like the wire. And the mill itself is the motor. So I will raise the gate, allow water to flow from the pond down the sluiceway. That will fill up a crib, a wooden box called a crib, that's underneath the floorboards right here. It's about 6 feet long by 4 feet wide by 10 feet deep. Holds roughly 1,800 gallons of water. At the bottom of which is a valve, which I shall open with this flywheel here, allowing all of that water to rush down onto what's called the flusher wheel. Great big paddle boat looking wheel directly below me. That is the main power of the mill. That converts that stored potential energy into usable kinetic energy. Attached to the flutter wheel is a vertical shaft called the Pitman's arm, which does the same job Ryan did at our soffit demonstration. Makes my saw blade go up and down. Now that's good. We need the saw to go up and down. What we also need is a way to feed the log into the saw. And that is achieved via the ratcheting arm system above me here. As the Pitman's arm forces my saw blade up and down, and makes this beam teeter up and down. Which makes this beam, which is rounded off on both ends, attached to a short rocker arm, rock back and forth. Which makes my pusher arm go forwards and backwards. When I drop this lever, the pusher arm falls onto my rag wheel and pushes that forward. The rag wheel is connected to a horizontal axle with teeth that's meshed with the teeth on my carriage, advancing the whole carriage forward. So that's good. We need to move the log into the saw. But we also need a way to reverse the process. So when we're finished with the cut, we can back the log up, shift it, and cut again. Particularly because right now I'm in the process of squaring this up into a beam. I'm almost done. Just have this flat side to take off. So once I get it squared, I'm going to start cutting it into boards. And when I cut it into boards, I won't cut all the way to the end of the log. I'll leave a couple of inches still connected and create one of these. This is called a stub shot. This is the end of the log that hasn't been sawn through all the way. We do this because it's much easier to transport 10 or 12 boards that are all connected together at one end than it is to individually carry each board to wherever you need them to be. Once they made a few of those, they would take their raft shackles, hammer one end into one log, one end into the next. Into the next, into the next, into the next. Then they'd be hooked up to that beast of burden, that horse or oxen, dragged down through the beach, where they'd be towed behind the ship over to Mackinac Island, and the worker could take a handsaw, saw the boards loose, and there they've got 10 or 12 boards all ready to go. To actually make that, I'll shut off the flow of water to the saw blade, since I'm not cutting anything. There's no sense in wasting water making the saw go up and down. I'll throw this lever here, which will engage the lantern gear, which you may or may not be able to see. It's down here. Kind of looks like an old railroad lantern, almost. That will mesh with the wooden teeth on the side of my rag wheel. Then I'll pull this lever here and allow water to flow down onto what's called the tub wheel, or turbine wheel. And that will spin the rag wheel in the opposite direction and reverse the whole process. Complicated, I know. Any questions about any of that before I get her started?
How can you get the saw started in the first place?
It's back straight up into the head block down there.
No, but I mean, you just cut all the way to the end of it?
Yeah, so you'll cut in that end. You just won't, and then once you get it down here, you just back it all the way back up out.
So how do you support that log when you start the saw?
The, well, it's resting on these little platforms here.
Oh, I see, you got 12. Okay, you can back the saw into that board there.
Yeah.
Into that.
Yeah.
Then on that, okay.
Alright. First thing I'm going to do is raise my magic fingers and push the magic button across. Raise the gate, allow water to flow from the pond down the sluiceway and fill up the crib underneath your feet. So take a minute to fill up 1,800 gallons of water. You'll hear it overflow. There's the sluiceway overflowing. There's the crib overflowing. Now I'll start to melt. Now I'll engage the lantern here, allow water onto the tub wheel, and reverse the process. This mill, operating on a good spring day, the spring snow melt and rainfall, and they can come all day long, is capable of cutting between 100 and 150 boards a day. So it's at least 10 times as fast as the two-person pit saw, which we demonstrated earlier. Now, if you folks don't have any pressing immediate questions, I have one more thing to show you. I'd invite you to exit my mill, cross my bridge, come down to the viewing platform behind me here. I'll run the mill again, and you'll see what it looks like underneath.
After the
Thank you.
Perfect view of the tub wheel.
What's that?
That's a perfect view of the tub wheel.
Oh, yeah.
That board's done.
That board's done. All right. The big handle working wheel directly below me, that sputter wheel is the main power of the mill. Next to that is vertical shaft that Hickman's arm, which makes my saw blade drawing down. Next to that, the big circular wheel is the tub wheel, or turbine wheel, that reverse mechanism. So I'll engage the flutter wheel for a few moments, drawing these along, then I'll engage the tub wheel so that you can see both.
mash stuff over here to get this right here?
I prefer you did.
Okay.
First, the butter wheel. Now I'll swing over the lantern here and engage the tub wheel.
Perfect timing.
That is how Robert Campbell used the power of water to operate his mill. Thanks very much for coming. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day.